Another key to having success in this general chemistry course is to work with the study guide on a regular basis. So let's take a look at the study guide and explain how it might best be used. If you go to our course on Canvas here and scroll down, there's a module labeled study guides, and if you click on the first study guide here, it'll take you to a document that looks like this. So each study guide it tells you which exams that study guide covers, and then it's broken down by day, just like Top Hat is broken down by day, and the challenge questions document is broken down by day 1, 2, 3, etc. And then the study guide also tells you which content relates to which exam. So the first exam you take this semester is going to cover day 1 content. It's going to cover exam 1 still, day 2 content. And it's going to cover day 3 content as well as day 4 content. So you'll really want to have practice thoroughly questions and example problems that relate to days 1 through 4 before you take the first exam. And before you're allowed to schedule a time to take the first exam, you'll have to complete those sections of Top Hat and the challenge questions that are in pink and receive feedback on those and work through them until they are displaying that you have a competency with those particular skills and concepts. Later in the syllabus, you can in the study guide here, you can see some of this content relates to exam 2. Right? So for exam 1 specifically, though, if you look at each day's content, you'll see there's some terminology that you should be familiar with. So I wouldn't spend a lot of time on the definitions. I'm not going to specifically probably ask you many questions. We're just asked to define terms. But if I ask you a question about physical properties or chemical properties or homogeneous versus heterogeneous, you want to have enough familiarity with the terms that you understand what the question is asking, so you can at least try to answer the question I'm asking, rather than having a misconception about what the question is potentially asking you to try to answer. The main thing about the study guide here, though, is each bullet point represents a particular skill. And this is a skills-based course, right? So can you describe and give examples of something that is matter versus something that is not matter? Can you identify properties and changes as physical or chemical? Right? So each one of these bullet points describes a skill that you should be able to display or exhibit or demonstrate in an exam situation. So what you want to do is every time you practice a problem, whether it's in Top Hat or the challenge questions or any other problem that we might go over together to explain a concept or skill, I would print out a copy of the study guide, have it on hand, and maybe just put a little check mark by a bullet point if you've practiced a question that relates to that bullet point and you feel confident that that practice will prepare you to answer a question on the exam related to that bullet point. So I probably would practice a question related to every single bullet point on day 1 through 4 before I go to take the exam on the day 1 through 4 content. The more questions you practice for a given bullet point, the more prepared you'll probably be to answer a question based on that bullet point. And as you're reading through the study guide, if you read one of these bullet points, for example, when adding or subtracting measured values, be able to determine the answer with correct significant figures. If you can't think of how a potential exam question might be asked that relates to that bullet point, you can always just message me and we can talk about it, right? So when I write the exams for this semester, or really for any semester, oops, let's see, I misspelled the word there, but when I write the exams for the semester, every question on every exam will come from one or another of these bullet points. So if you do practice example problems and questions related to all of these, none of the exam questions will be a surprise to you. None of them will be foreign to you. They'll all be at least related to something you've already seen, which is really an important way to help you prepare, right? You don't want to be surprised by anything that comes up on exam. So that's basically how you would use the study guides to help you prepare for the exam.